Hello and welcome to Daily Records. I am Tommy Burton, and today we're going to continue on with my Record Store Day releases. And the next one is one that I was really excited to get my hands on. This is Lumpy Gravy, Primordial by Frank Zappa. Now, this is technically the debut solo album by Frank Zappa. Well, let me go back and correct this. Lumpy Gravy was the solo debut. Everything up to that point was credited to Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention. And the original album was released on August 7th, 1967 on Capitol Records. And it's actually credited, it was a group of session musicians that Frank put together. And I'm going to see if I can pronounce this correctly. The Abnuceals Emuukha Electric Symphony Orchestra. And like I said, this is the Record Store Day issue that came out on Zappa Records in mono at 45 RPM, mastered by the great Chris Bellman. Now, what he did, Frank Zappa conducted the group but did not perform on the album. Now, it was released on August 7th, 1967 by Capitol Records. It's credited as produced by Nick Vanette, which a lot of Beach Boys people know Nick's name because of his involvement with the Beach Boys and Capitol Records. But there was a big lawsuit. It was withdrawn, and there was a big lawsuit from MGM Records who claimed that the album's release violated Frank Zappa's contract with Verve, who was releasing the Mothers Records at that time. So in 1968, it was re-edited and reissued by MGM, and it came out on May 13th. And there was, this is basically music concrete, which is modern or abstract, modern composition. But there were elements, I mean, the orchestra, there was elements of surf music, and it came out around the same time that We're Only In It For The Money. And so Zappa saw this as a sort of conceptual continuity piece that included We're Only In It For The Money, Lumpy Gravy, and Civilization Phase 3. And that was one of his final albums. Now, this was released on this beautiful burgundy vinyl. I'm trying not to touch it. I try to touch the dead wax and the edges here. But I want to show you guys this beautiful, beautiful vinyl. But now, having said that, Lumpy Gravy had a lot of spoken words and narration in it and things along those lines. Well, this one, the Primordial version that came out on Record Store Day, is basically only the music compositions. Now, it was previously released as part of the Lumpy Money project that came out, and Frank Zappa diehards know all about that. And so this music has actually been heard in this form before, but this is the vinyl issue. Now, some of the guys that played on this record, and just to go through some of the session musicians, Frank Cap is on this record. Shelly Manne playing drums. Of course, Zappa had a lot of percussionists. Motorhead Sherwood, James Sherwood was on the album. Roy Estrada. So it had some of the Mothers guys on there, in addition to the session guys that Bruce Hampton on this record. So a lot of different musicians. But like I said, no Frank. And so the Lumpy Money project, going back to that, it came out in 2009, and that was basically just a combination of all of those sessions put into one. And so it had all the stuff from not only Lumpy Gravy, but also the stuff that was recorded for the We're Only In It For The Money album. And so this is Frank's earliest example of being a modern-day composer. The modern-day composer refuses to die, according to Varese. And this initially was supposed to come out on Black Friday Record Store Day. It got pushed back. But I'm a big Zappa fan, so I get all the Zappa RSD releases. And so this one was no exception, but really stoked to get this. It sounds phenomenal. Chris Bellman does great work. So if it's quality that you're wondering about, this is a phenomenal sounding album. And if you're interested in Frank Zappa, the composer, not Frank Zappa, the lyricist, or Frank Zappa, the musician, this is an interesting piece. And so So get your Pipco shirts on and try to track this release down. I believe the Record Store Day version was a first release. So there's going to be a standard release of this that's going to come out that's probably going to be on standard black vinyl. So this is something that's going to be available, I think, widely. So if you missed out on the burgundy one, have no fear. There will be copies available, I believe, from your local record stores. But Lumpy Gravy, Primordial is the today's daily record. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. It's TommyBurton75. I usually show what I'm spinning. Check out my regular VC channel where I go into more depth and detail on multiple albums and subjects. And like, comment, subscribe, share. Thank you all so much for watching these things, and thank you for commenting. In the meantime, I will see you all again tomorrow with another daily record.